Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Georgiana with Expressions Craft Studio, and today we're going to be working on a card that I saw in a video from Iced Images, and it's a gatefold with these then pop downs, and you may have seen it. She's very popular on YouTube, and I just thought it was a beautiful card. I even kind of mimicked her color scheme. I didn't use her papers, although she does sell them in her link. I will link her video below, and in her links she has her Etsy shop where she sells the papers that that she used. Now, I actually had made my own papers previously that kind of matched the color scheme, so that's what I'm using. And I set the file up to cut in Cricut Design Space because, as I've said before, and you've probably heard many times, I cannot cut straight. I can't draw straight, I can't cut straight, I can't even apparently score straight. So for me, Design Space works better just because I get closer to being straight than if I do it on my own. I still manage to mess it up. I don't know how, but I do. So anyway, I have gone and taken her idea and kind of cased it or revised it so that you can cut it in Design Space if that's easier for you. Now, I will say that this is pretty straightforward, and if you're used to hand cutting everything and you have a scoring tool and all of that, you can certainly do it by hand. You don't need the Cricut Design Space file, which I will share in my Facebook group or page. Maybe I'll share it in both. I debate this every single time I say it, but anyway, so this is what we're going to be making. Now, I've gone ahead and cut everything out. You don't need to see how to do that. I've gone ahead and glued some of my pieces together. I say I cut everything out, but then I remembered I did not cut out my front panels because I forget about those. I was so worried about getting the inside done, so I will still have to cut those, and we'll glue those on. I think, like she did, I will make a belly band as long as this piece of my paper will go around it. It's what was left over from cutting the inside panels. So I'm going to go ahead and start gluing this inside together, and then I'll cut the stuff for the outside, and we will finish putting the rest of it together. So I'm going to do the easy stuff first, which is going to be these back panels, and here's my glue. So you can use glue, you can use tape, you can use whatever works best for you. I like glue just because it allows me to slide things around a little bit if I don't get them straight right out of the gate, which is normally my issue. But tape works good too, and tape with some glue on it still allows you to slide it around a little bit. So I don't know if I need to fill this up or if it's clogged. So anyway, I know we've got a few new members, so I will say hello to you. Thank you for joining us. I haven't made a video in a while. It's probably been at least a month. I just, it's not that I haven't been in my craft room, I just haven't been recording. I haven't felt inspired that I was doing anything that was worth sharing. But I loved this card so much that I wanted to make it, and I thought I might as well share it with you in case you, like me, prefer to use your Cricut. So I'm going to try and center this up. And I think I got it a little too high. I did. Uh-oh, gotta hurry, George. You're too slow. Let's pull that down just a little bit. Okay. And grab my bone folder. I like to kind of spread that glue out and help it stick nice and good. So anyway, you could make this card with any a number of color combinations. Obviously it'd be beautiful. I think even with some kind of metallic or foil it would look amazing, and obviously it's going to be good depending on the papers you use for any holiday. We just passed Valentine's Day. I made a few cards for that, and I guess the next big one, I mean, unless you're into St. Patty's Day and stuff, I think that's more about drinking than sharing cards, but whatever. I think the next big one will be Mother's Day, at least here in the U.S. Oops, dang it, got glue everywhere. So you may be starting to think about Mother's Day and what you can do. I'm trying to slide that a little bit, but I think it's too late. What you can do to get ready for that holiday. You may have some birthdays in the middle, or anniversaries, or even weddings. I mean, honestly, this card is, I think it's spectacular. She did a wonderful job with it. And yeah, see, I should have done a better job getting those straight across the bottom. So now you're going to be able to see that this isn't straight. Yeah. Oh well, it is what it is. I don't have anybody in mind for this card, and honestly, the person receiving it probably won't notice. So now this one does use a little bit more paper or cardstock than, you know, our traditional half of an 8.5 by 11 card here in the US would use. And I actually made this one bigger than I normally do. This is a 5 by 7, but I think it needs to be big because of all of the details that go on the inside of it. So now I'm going to try and see if I can just get my glue bottle underneath there. Add some glue around the edges. I also did not use a really heavy cardstock for this. I didn't have a heavy enough cardstock in the navy blue that I wanted to use. So this is just 65-pound cardstock from Michaels in their, is it Recollections collection, I think. But I decided, even though it's a big card, it would be okay, because by the time I get done layering everything on here, it's going to be pretty sturdy. I think I've got a little bit of, I have a little bit of my painter's tape, it looks like, or something across the top there. Oh, the tiniest little sliver. I don't even know if you can see that. Okay, so we've got those on. So now comes the tricky part. Now she used tape. If I were smart, I'd probably use tape, but I'm not going to, because I want to be able to move it if I don't get it straight. So that's about center. I do want to make sure I use plenty of glue though. And I'm just going to kind of pinch that there. So you want to, let me see if I can slide that up a little bit. You want to center it horizontally there, and you want to line it up at the bottom, and I need to slide that way and that way just a little. And then I'm just going to kind of use this to make sure everything's nice and square, and I think it is. Maybe not quite. Well, it's stuck now. Alright, so then I'm just going to burnish that glue in, and when it folds out, it'll fold out like that. So we're going to glue this top flap here next. And for this one, we're going to fold them both down. We're going to make sure it's kind of keep it as square as possible. And we're going to burnish that glue. So now when you stand it up, there you go. Actually, I think it works better if you kind of pull it down first. There we go. I probably got it a little too low. Oh, nope, there we go. Alright, so now we're going to put on our middle one. We're going to do the same thing, except this time we want to line it up with this score line here in the center. Now, my measurements are probably a little different than hers. In fact, I know in these center panels they're different, and you can certainly adjust that in the file if you're familiar with how to do that. if you want to see you'll see what I'm talking about here when I get done, but it's, I didn't get my center measurements quite the same. I wasn't as focused on those maybe as I should have been. Push that up just a little. Alright. Give it a burnish. Spread that glue out. And then we're going to glue this flap here. And I do want to make sure I get enough glue on this mechanism here, because it's going to be, depending on how often it gets opened and closed, it is going to get some use. So just want to make sure I use enough glue. So one of the other YouTube creators that I watch would call this a showstopper card, and I can't remember which one would call it that. I think oh, all of a sudden I've forgotten her name. She has her own line of products. I think that she's the one who would call it a showstopper, but I could be wrong about that. But anyway, I consider it a showstopper because of the size and the intricate nature of the parts involved. And you know, a lot of times I think cards are, people are happy to get them, but it's not something they necessarily want to hang on to for any length of time, let alone forever. But I think this type of card is something that most people would hang on to for a little while longer. Just trying to line that up there. It's not quite centered, but it's close enough. So this is our third and final one of these inside panels. And again, we're going to add glue to our flap here. I know that my great-grandmother loved it when I sent her cards, and this was way before card making at home was even really a thing. And she was always so thrilled to get them. She lived alone. My great-grandfather had died, and none of her kids lived close to her, so it always really brightened her day to know that somebody was thinking about her. And I think that's still true, especially for a lot of older people or people who maybe live alone or don't get a lot of family or friend interaction. Okay, there we go. Woohoo! It stands up. So you can kind of curve it or whatever. You could pull it down a little bit more. There we go. So what I meant about my spacing is, you can see I've got a narrow gap here, a wider gap, and then this whole thing, obviously that's going to be that way no matter what. But I was undecided about where I was going to put my sentiment, and I think initially I thought I was going to put it there, so that's why I made that wider than this gap here. But like I said, you can certainly change that, and you could even put your sentiment up here, or if you were smarter than me, you could make something that kind of spanned across this way, that folded up neatly on the inside. I don't know. It's a thought. I'm probably not going to act on it, but it's a thought. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this while I cut out these pieces for the front. They're going to be these pieces here, except that I'm going to use this paper here, just so it kind of flows in and out. All right, so I'm going to pause and we'll be back to finish assembling. All right, I finished cutting out my additional pieces and got so excited gluing everything together that I forgot to press record. So we have almost everything glued down now except for the last half of this front piece, and I'm going to do it right now. Now, I did just think of something, and this may not make sense, but these pieces that I'm gluing down now are layered. So they're one piece of printed DSP or whatever you call it on top of a white piece of cardstock. But if you're printing your stuff out anyway, you could easily, if you're, you know, familiar with design software, you could easily just go ahead and print this on a piece of paper or cardstock, depending on what else you've used, and go ahead and print it with the white border, and then that would save you from having to glue those pieces together. If you're already printing your own paper, why not do it that way and save yourself the trouble of layering? So, and that's easy enough to do in Design Space if you want to use the print then cut feature. Alright, so there we've got that glued together, and I think it's upside down, but I think it looks pretty nice. Open it up, give it a tug, stand it up. There you go. So you can finish decorating. I felt a little something flip up here and I wasn't sure what it was. So you can finish decorating. I think we'll try to make this a belly band. I think it's wide enough. We'll see. Or the other thing you could do, just so you know, you could put a magnetic closure on as long as you planned ahead and made sure to cover up your magnets. Or you could just wrap it with a pretty piece of ribbon or whatever. Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of options. The other thing you might want to consider if you're using a lot of heavy cardstock is you might want to put two scores here to create a little bit of a gusset so that it will, you know, kind of fold more flat than this wants to do. But again, that's an option. The file doesn't include that option, but that's, again, if you're familiar with digitizing and stuff, you can figure that out. So I'm just trying to get this all centered and square because I have folded over my belly bands in the past and they not been very square. So I'm just trying to keep it kind of squared up. Okay, so we'll end up gluing that together, and then we can put a nice decorative piece over the front. So let's see, let's go to right there. And it's not perfectly straight, but that's okay. Make sure we don't glue our belly band to our card. I could have made that a little bit looser, actually. That's one of the nice things about ribbon is you've got a little bit more play in it. So, just because I'm anal, nobody's going to see this anyway, but I'm going to trim off that little lip there. Just taking the tiniest little bit off. So if you watch Iced Images video, you'll see she put a nice big square, see, I think I could have made that a little bit bigger, a nice big square sentiment here on the front. And you could certainly do that. I haven't decided yet. My mother passed away years ago, so I don't need a Mother's Day card. I don't know of anybody having an anniversary. It would make a lovely birthday card for somebody. But I'm going to leave the sentiment off the front right now, but I would put it right here, just like she did. And I would put something on the inside as well, whether it be just some pop-ups, or not pop-ups, but like ephemera type things, maybe some butterflies since it's floral, some birds, I don't know, but something just to add a little bit more interest to the inside. But there's the base of the card, and then you can finish decorating it however you like. I think it would look lovely with some, like I said, butterflies or birds, or even just some gems, just to add a little bit of extra interest to the inside, however you want to do it. If you're really talented and you're feeling good today, you want to make some kind of banner streamer that goes across the front that will fold up properly on the inside, you could do that. You could do a lot of things with it. I just thought it was a really spectacular looking card, so I had to make one. Like I said, I don't have, my mother's been gone for a while now, so I don't need a Mother's Day card. My husband's mother's also gone, so I don't know what I'll do with it, but maybe I'll give it away. Maybe I'll give it to make a drawing for it or something, I don't know. I do think when I make the centerpiece here, I will use some gold foil paper. I think that would be pretty with a sentiment on the front. So there you go, guys. I hope you liked this one. Hope you will check out her video. I have linked it below. She does a beautiful job. And she makes amazing cards. I mean, she's, you could be busy for a long time just recreating the cards that she makes. And she also sells wonderful papers and, paper crafting products. So check her out. She really is pretty fantastic. The other person I was trying to think of earlier is Sam Calcott, and she also makes amazing cards. And they are both located in the UK, I believe. I know Sam is. And her cards are also spectacular. She also sells a lot of her own products. I don't know if she sells her own paper, but she has her own line of dies and stuff. And she actually might have her own line of paper too, now that I think about it. But she also makes a lot of fun cards, Oh, and I'm glad I flipped that over. This is a nice spot. I haven't put anything on it yet, but I will put a nice, probably a white background with some of these flowers. I'll take them in my digital software and add them to the corners or something, and put a nice background on here that you can write your message on. Yeah, I think that that's really nice. And I'm thinking, as I'm talking, and this video is getting longer and longer, and I know some of you don't like that, I think just kind of perching a couple butterflies right off the edge where they'll still fold up and be inside the card, the 5x7 measurements, but they'll just kind of pop up off over the top of this edge here. So anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. I hope to be doing some more of these. I actually also created a card file in Cricut. It's got about 6 different versions of the same thing. It's a different kind of pop-up card. Well, I've got a couple samples here. Let me show you real quick. This is pretty much it. So if you're free to go, if you're lost interest. But if you want to see what else I've been working on, so this is a tunnel card, and I've seen a number of people do this. Sam Calcott, for instance, has done them. I would imagine Iced Images has done them as well. And I've just been using scrap cardstock and making some little templates for myself so that I'll know when I want to make one what my measurements are. Well, it's in the file, but I can kind of compare the different sizes here and see which one I like better. So this one is my least favorite, and it's supposed to be a 5x7, but I got some of my measurements wrong. But you can see it's a very narrow tunnel on the inside. That could work for you if you're going to do more, bridges across here, that, just a plain paper in the background, or not plain, but, your decorative paper in the background with, some bridges here, maybe Happy Valentine's Day or something. It could work. It just isn't my favorite to work with, but it is included in the file. And when I get around to doing a video for that, I will share that file as well. It's got all these different sizes in there. This one's actually my favorite. And this one, what did I use? I cut this one from a piece of 12 by 12 cardstock, and it ended up being, when it's standing, it's 5 inches high by 6 wide, but when it's flat, it's a 5 by 7. And this actually is my favorite one, and the back is 2 layers because of the way it's cut, but I like that because it just makes it nice and sturdy. But again, it's going to depend on the cardstock you're using. This one is like the first one I showed, but shorter. Again, it's pretty narrow here on the inside, but depending on how you're going to decorate the front, that might be perfectly fine with you. And then I've got this one, which is, what did I say this one was? So flat, it's 5 1/4 by 4 1/4. Where standing, it's 4 1/2 by 4 1/4. So it's an odd size. It's an oddball. Took me a while to work out some of my measurements. The smaller the card, the narrower width on the tunnel pieces here. But basically, instead of, this is just made from one piece that's been scored, folded, and glued, instead of multiple pieces where you make these and then glue them on. I actually prefer that because, as I said earlier, I have a problem getting things straight, so this works better for me. And then there was this one, which I think is also nice. So I've done them in landscape and portrait, trying to figure out which way I liked it best. This one ends up being 5 1/2 by 4 1/4 when it's flat. So it's our traditional mailing size here in the US. And standing, it's 5 by 4 1/4, so not very different. And you've got a lot of room here in the background to layer your decorative paper, as well as your die cuts, or, you know, cut out images or whatever. And then, you know, this would be less of a focus. You could still put a bridge across there if you wanted to, but you don't have to. And yeah, so different variations. I'm going to be playing with those in the next, well, the coming weeks. I'll say weeks because I don't know when I'll get to it. I've just been playing instead of focusing on videos, but I want to get back to making videos, especially when I can share something like this. I think this is spectacular, and I love what she did with this card, and I was excited to recreate it. So I hope you will check her out, because her and Sam both are amazing card makers. I think you know, they're more into the more intricate stuff, and that's really what I tend to lean toward. I don't always make it because I'm kind of cheap and I don't like to waste a lot of paper and ink and all that, but I'm always happy with the results when I do. So anyway, check those guys out. I'll link them both below, and until next time, guys, I hope you have a happy crafty day.